Chapter 751. Eats People? The old man hesitated for a moment before he wrapped his fist in his palm and asked, "Sir, are you asking about Lords of World Planes?" Based on the old man's waves of power coming from his cultivation base, it could be seen that he should be from a race that was similar to the immortals. He was around the peak of the second step, which was why he had been using the third step speed as a standard while talking about the distance and the time needed to move between planets. However, since barren lands of divine essence was a place for the criminals from the four great true worlds and the mysterious alien races, the categorizations for the levels of cultivation were a little messy, which was why these people continued using the titles that were used in the four great true worlds. Lord of a World Plane. This was a standard for cultivators. Lord of a Plane was placed as a center of power, and those who reached it were divided into 4 stages: initial, middle, later, and completion. Above these were the lesser solar Kalpa realm and the true solar Kalpa realm. Since those who had yet to reach the stage of a Lord of a World Plane were numerous, the categorization of their levels of cultivation was even more confusing. After all, each race's cultivation system was different. But over the countless years, a standard of cultivation had been slowly accepted by the 4 great true worlds, and it also became a standard within the barren lands of divine essence. All those below the level of world plane were known as cultivators of heaven, earth, and man cultivation. Based on the barren lands of divine essence's categorization, the old man's level of cultivation was at the peak of the second step in his race, and he was also at the peak of the heaven cultivation. As for Su Ming, when he reached life privation, he had moved into the initial stage of earth cultivation within the barren lands of divine essence. If he could get past life privation realm and enter life palace realm, then he would become a cultivator of heaven cultivation. If he could break through life palace realm and reach world of life, the final realm within life cultivation, then he would reach the peak of heaven cultivation and could attempt becoming a lord of a world plane. However, due to the differences between races, a realm that seemed equal between the cultivation systems could result in a strength that was much higher or lower compared to that of another person. Due to the absence of resources in the barren lands of divine essence and the lack of spiritual energy, those differences in strength could be magnified exponentially. Those who were below the realm of man cultivation did not have a joint name within the barren lands of divine essence, because these people were only ants in this world. Once Su Ming heard the old man's words, a glint appeared in his eyes. He nodded. The 70-80 people around him might have extraordinary power, but Su Ming knew that he had come out of the volcano in an extremely shocking manner, and the ferocious beast with the phoenix head beneath him was exuding a frightening presence that terrified these people. Due to all of this, they had mistaken him for a lord of a world plane from the world outside that was passing by this place. This was something Su Ming did not expect. He had originally intended to use the ferocious beast's might and ask about some things in this land, so that he could have a better chance of surviving here. Could it be that most of the people here seal off their power? Or else the old man wouldn't have this sort of misunderstanding, especially since he can see my level of cultivation clearly. Su Ming remained as calm as ever. He already had a basic gist of what was going on based on the people's expressions. Crimson Flame Planet is rather far from the center of the barren lands of divine essence, closer to the galaxy of the true worlds. The patrolling true guards frequently check this place, which is why there are only 2 world paragons here. One of them is in an area to the east, and the other to the west. They are usually in isolation and don't bother with what is happening in the world. There are no other world paragons in Crimson Flame Planet besides these 2, the old man said as he wrapped his fist in his palm. This place is the northern region of Crimson Flame Planet. There was another world paragon 500 years ago, but because he had let out a disrespectful aura when the true guards were patrolling in space, they killed him. There are also quite a number of ferocious beasts and divine spirits here in Crimson Flame Planet that possess the power of lords of world planes, said Yu Hongbang respectfully by the side as he wrapped his fist in his palm toward Su Ming. As he spoke, he cast a glance at the Crimson Python Phoenix. He was intent on improving his relationship with Su Ming because he was worried that the other would cause him trouble. That was why he had told him the things the old man did not say. From now onwards, when you come to this place and make your offerings, while the rules to offering corpses have not changed, you must also offer some of the items that are unique to this planet. If anything catches my fancy, I will reward you, Su Ming stated calmly. His gaze then fell on Yu Hongbang. All of you can leave now, But you, stay back. I have further requests. Yu Hongbang's heart trembled. His followers immediately moved closer to him with wariness on their faces as ripples of power spread out from his body. Anguish rose in their hearts, but once they remembered how Yu Hongbang had taken care of them over the years, they found that they no longer had any attachments to this hellish life. At the instant, they spread out the waves of their power, and the crimson python phoenix beneath Su Ming's feet looked towards them coldly. Low roars came from its mouth, and a vast, mighty pressure that was not in the very least weaker than that of a lord of a world plane spread out from its body. Yu Hongbang's hair rose on end. The others in the area wrapped their fists in their palms and retreated without any hesitation, no longer bothering about Yu Hongbang's survival. Even the old man in the lead wrapped his fist in his palm and retreated immediately. In the blink of an eye, the 70-80 people around the area turned into an equivalent number of long arcs that swiftly left the place. Move back. Wait for me outside. Yu Hongbang hesitated for a moment, then gritted his teeth and spoke to his followers. His potential was not the only reason why he had reached the heaven cultivation realm. It was also due to his intelligence. If the stranger truly wanted to kill him, there would have been no need for him to go through so much trouble. He had asked Yu Hongbang to stay in this place, and this might be a chance. Once Yu Hongbang thought of this, an idea took shape in his mind. The people behind him halted for a moment, but when they saw the resolute look on Yu Hongbang's face, they withdrew into the distance in silence. At that moment, besides the huge and tiny crimson python phoenixes at the entrance of the volcano, there were only Su Ming and Yu Hongbang left. Su Ming looked at Yu Hongbang and after a moment had gone by asked, "How are the levels of cultivation categorized in the barren lands of divine essence?" Yu Hongbang's expression remained calm, but once he heard Su Ming's question, his heart let out a thump. He came to a sudden realization that his previous assumption had been incorrect. The person before him was not a powerful warrior who had come from the inner parts of the barren lands of divine essence, but Yu Hongbang's breathing quickened during that instant. He lifted his head and looked at Su Ming. As he recalled the moment he first saw this person, he became even more certain of his guess. He immediately wrapped his fist in his palm and told Su Ming everything about the 3 cultivation levels of heaven, earth, and man, as well as the titles associated with the lords of world planes without keeping anything back. The True Worlds Galaxy is a place that exists once the 4 great true worlds are connected together. It is used to suppress the barren lands of divine essence, and it is also the only exit of this place. The 4 great true worlds will frequently send powerful warriors to patrol the True Worlds Galaxy. They won't get too close to the center of the barren lands of divine essence, but would patrol the many cultivation planets at the periphery of this world. Those people who are sent out are the true guards. Xianxia mentioned the barren lands of divine essence's black ink planet just now. That planet has a great reputation in this world, and it is one of the cultivation planets in the barren lands of divine essence that serve as a landmark. It is the only one that has not been completely abandoned, because it is a cultivation planet that still possesses some spiritual energy. Xianxia is the old man you talked to just now. He thought that you were a powerful warrior from Black Ink Planet, because occasionally there are world paragons who are indifferent towards their own lives and dare to move across the galaxy within the barren lands of divine essence to go to other cultivation planets in search of things they need for their cultivation, Yu Hongbang explained while looking at Su Ming. Then what do you think? Su Ming asked flatly. I believe that you are not from Black Ink Planet, but a first-generation criminal that has just been sent to the barren lands of divine essence from the 4 true great worlds. Yu Hongbang said without any hesitation, and there was even eagerness on his face. All those who still have the memories from the world outside and have just been sent here for the first time are first-generation criminals. They will give birth to their offspring here, creating a few people like me in the barren lands of divine essence. We are people who live in the barren lands of divine essence from the moment we are born till the one when we breathe our last. Yu Hongbang sucked in a deep breath and asked respectfully, Sir, I wonder which of the 4 true great worlds did you come from? Su Ming's gaze was cold. He chose to neither deny nor answer Yu Hongbang's question, but instead patted the crimson python phoenix beneath him. It let out a roar and returned to the entrance of the volcano, bringing Su Ming with it, and the both of them disappeared from Yu Hongbang's gaze as they sank into the volcano. Yu Hongbang stood there, his expression changing constantly. After a moment, He bowed deeply towards the mouth of the volcano, then turned around and left swiftly. Doubt rose in his heart again, and he began to second-guess his previous judgment. Could it be that this person asked me these things to guide me towards a certain train of thought? There was no answer to this question in Yu Hongbang's mind. When he thought back on the scene just now, he found that Su Ming's cold gaze had been the thing that left the deepest impression in his memory. That emotionless gaze looked as if it was completely indifferent towards all forms of life. It doesn't matter where he came from. I cannot incur his wrath, and neither can I speak about my guesses to the others when I'm outside the area, Yu Hongbang decided in his heart and gradually disappeared into the distance. Time passed by quickly in the barren lands of divine essence. Su Ming stayed inside the volcano with half of his body immersed in magma. It had been a whole year since he had first come out of the volcano for the first time. During the past year, Yu Hongbang and the others had come 4 times. As of the last time, they numbered to less than 50, from around 80 a year ago. When they had come to this place the 4th time, they had not just brought the corpses, which were a necessity, but also brought some of the items from around Crimson Flame Planet. One of them was an uneven blue crystal floating before Su Ming. There were quite a lot of impurities which looked like muscles within it, but there was not a hint of spiritual energy contained within the crystal. This caught Su Ming's attention. After observing the crystal for a moment, he lifted his right hand, and it began rapidly withering away before his eyes. When his right arm had shriveled to the point that it looked as if it had been reduced to only skin and bones, he grabbed the stone. As blue light shone from the stone, it began shrinking swiftly, turning into dust in Su Ming's hand. This hand of his began to gain flesh and blood, recovering slightly from its emaciated state. If I compare my level of cultivation to theirs, it's difficult for me to compete against many of the people here. But I didn't expect that there would be items here that would allow surging indulgers to practice their cultivation here. A strange light appeared in Su Ming's eyes as he stared at his right hand. This barren lands of divine essence are mysterious indeed. Crimson Flame Planet, which is located at the edge of this galaxy, produces this useless stone which possesses the power of flesh and blood. Su Ming seized the air in the direction of the magma beside him, and another blue stone that was the size of his fist immediately flew into his hand. As he looked at the impurities that looked muscles within the crystal, Su Ming narrowed his eyes. Could it be that this Crimson Flame Planet eats people? Or else why would the stones have flesh and blood? Chapter 752, Heinous Criminals of the Alien Races. Su Ming suddenly recalled the thing he had never come to understand, the reason why the Crimson Python Phoenixes had to absorb the light green aura from the corpses. He had watched them absorbing the aura that came from the corpses over the year, but he had been unable to absorb even a single bit of it. He fell into pensive silence, his eyes closed. He started circulating his cultivation base so that the harmony between his soul and body would reach perfection. His body was filled with the heat of flames, and it even looked as if there were waves of hot air coming out from his nose when he breathed. A layer of distortions appeared faintly around his body. The distortions looked like waves of flowing water that were circling him. This was the inborn talent that came from Su Ming's physical body, and it was the mysterious divine ability that had allowed him to disassemble materials with a punch. The smaller Crimson Python Phoenixes by his side were staring at the bald crane. They seemed to find each other quite the eyesore. The Crimson Python Phoenix was growling lowly at the bald crane, which had been able to tell the relationship between Su Ming and the 2 ferocious beasts a long time ago. At that moment, it was lying on the stone and sizing up the Crimson Python Phoenix before deciding to turn into a huge, brownish-yellow dog. This was the appearance of the strongest ferocious beast in its memories. Once it changed into this form, it bared its teeth at the Crimson Python Phoenix. The Crimson Python Phoenix that had the power equivalent to the power of Lords of World Planes had entered to depths of the magma a long time ago to sleep there. Only when the time of offerings arrived would it wake up to eat. When the smaller Crimson Python Phoenix saw the mutt that was the bald crane, its eyes immediately went wide. Clearly, it had never seen a ferocious beast like this before. After a moment of hesitation, a layer of distortions and waves that were the exact same as the ones about Su Ming surrounded it. Hints of the strange law filled the area around the Crimson Python Phoenix once the distortions appeared, and it glared at the mutt that was the bald crane before starting to growl lightly. During the past year, The phoenix and crane had been glaring at each other with animosity all the time, but they had never truly attacked each other. At that moment, as they growled at each other, the crimson python phoenix suddenly shuddered and crawled into the magma without any hesitation, not daring to show even a hint of itself. This sudden act stunned the bald crane. It bared its teeth, as if it was laughing at the phoenix, but then a shudder ran through it. A mighty pressure surged into the volcano through its mouth and filled it with a bang. A divine sense was contained within that mighty pressure, as if someone who was incredibly powerful was using their divine sense to sweep through the land. The bald crane immediately let out a shrill screech. It could vaguely recall that it had once encountered this act of divine sense sweeping through the land, and it was something that was incredibly dangerous. As it screamed, it no longer bothered with the scorching heat of the magma and crawled into it. The gigantic crimson python phoenix that was sleeping in the depths of the magma had opened its eyes a long time ago. There was a deep-seated terror in its eyes, but it still moved slightly and let out a roar from the depths of the magma to the mouth of the volcano. This roar was declaring its territory, even if it was terrified. Su Ming had also opened his eyes. He was staring at the sky beyond the mouth of the volcano, and even though his expression was calm, his pupils had shrank. At that moment, it did not matter whether it was the north, west, south, or east. The expression of people in all regions of Crimson Flame Planet changed. They instantly stopped everything they were doing. Even those who had been fighting and were just a hand's reach away from killing each other stopped at that instant and chose instead to sit down cross-legged on the floor, not daring to move even an inch. It was as if they were worried that they would suffer an inconceivable destruction if they did anything extra. All the cultivators reacted the same way in the entire Crimson Flame Planet, including Yu Hongbang and the others. All of their faces were pale as they looked at the sky while trembling. The helplessness and terror in their gazes were incredibly clear. To the east of Crimson Flame Planet was a stone house located on a tall mountain. There was an old woman with messy hair sitting cross-legged there, and her eyes were wide open as she stared at above herself, as if her gaze could penetrate the roof and she could see the starry sky above her. The waves of power that belonged to a lord of a world plane could be detected on her, but at that moment, she had suppressed those waves so much that they had become incredibly weak. In fact, very soon, a look of humility along with humiliation appeared in her eyes, and she chose to grovel instead of sitting cross-legged. Within the only forest that had any green plants walked a middle-aged man. This area was located to the west of Crimson Flame Planet, and he was touching the green leaves on the trees with a dazed look on his face, as if he was lost in his thoughts. It was as if the green leaves in the forest brought him back to some beautiful moments from his past. As he touched them gently, the mighty pressure as well as the divine sense swept through the world. He lifted his head and looked at the sky with anguish on his face. He slowly prostrated himself on the ground. Unlike the still and unmoving cultivators in Crimson Flame Mountain, the ferocious beasts that existed in several spots were roaring to declare their territories. Su Ming's eyes were narrowed as he lay in the magma. He could vaguely sense that the source of the mighty pressure and divine sense in the world came from beyond Crimson Flame Planet. A title that Yu Hongbang had mentioned a year ago appeared in his head. True Guard, he whispered softly. At that moment, there was a gigantic, ancient, bronze sword drifting in the galaxy beyond Crimson Flame Planet. If Su Ming saw that ancient bronze sword, he would definitely find it familiar. It was similar to the enchanted treasure he had seen in the world of Nine Yin when he was in Yin Death Region. It was the enchanted treasure that allowed the spirits of Nine Yin to move through galaxies. This sword might not be the same, but it was incredibly similar. The ancient sword was 100,000 feet long, and there were 7 people standing on it at that moment. These 7 people were wearing large robes. They had indifferent expressions on their faces, and the presence that belonged to lords of world planes spread out from their bodies. There were 3,000 cultivators sitting and meditating behind them. The levels of cultivation of those 3,000 were not important compared to that bloody and murderous presence coming from them. It had already surpassed their levels of cultivation, and as it spread out, it caused the people who sensed it to feel as if a sea of blood was about to charge towards them. But that was not all. An even stronger wave of power spread out from the ancient bronze sword. The strength of that wave was so great that it felt as if it could easily destroy a cultivation planet, and could also easily tear apart the body and soul of a person who had reached the status of world paragon. True Guards. This was the patrol team formed by the powerful warriors that were keeping guard over this place. They had power and reputation that brought a sense of danger to many in the barren lands of divine essence. At that moment, the ancient bronze sword was clearly patrolling the area around Crimson Flame Planet. The divine sense and mighty pressure that covered the entire planet had naturally come from the bodies of all true guards. The 7 people standing at the tip of the sword were talking and laughing among themselves, their expressions calm. After a moment, a ray of green light shot out from the 100,000 feet ancient bronze sword, and a long green arc immediately erupted with a bang, charging towards Crimson Flame Planet. It was so quick that it instantly reached it, but the planet did not crumble. The green arc spread out and turned into a large amount of green light that spread out to cover the entire Crimson Flame Planet. Once that happened, a projection appeared before the 7 people. It portrayed the cultivation planet, shrunken down by several times, to the size of only 1,000 feet. There were a large number of glowing spots in the projection, but most of them were dark. Only about 100 of these glowing spots were light red, and they were scattered throughout the regions in the planet's projection. The 7 people looked at the illusory projection of the cultivation planet and started speaking among themselves. The number of people at the peak of heaven cultivation has been reduced by quite a large margin. There are still only 2 criminals who are lords of world planes. There were 2 dark red glowing spots that were shining the brightest in the illusory projection. One of them was to the east while the other to the west, and there was a respectful presence spreading out from those glowing spots. The ferocious beasts left behind by the alien races have had their intelligences wiped away for all eternity, but their growth is still very shocking. As the 7 people's soft voices echoed in the air, several purple glowing spots immediately appeared in the illusory projection. These glowing spots were scattered throughout 7 different regions. Some of the lights were alone, while some gathered together into 2s or 3s. Among them was a region that looked like a volcano located to the north of Crimson Flame Planet. There were 2 small and 1 large purple glowing spots there. All right, everything within the outer section is normal. Let's check the inner section. That's the crux of this place, an overbearing voice said from among the 7, and the moment this voice appeared, the other 6 immediately stopped laughing and chatting among themselves, and their expressions immediately became grave. Even the murderous aura from the 3,000 cultivators behind them became thicker, and flowing light spilled out in all directions from the ancient bronze sword, as if its strongest attack was about to burst forth. The 7 people formed a seal at the same time and pointed towards the illusory projection of the cultivation planet. Waves immediately appeared on the projection, and as it swept through the projection layer by layer, the inner part of Crimson Flame Planet appeared. There was a crimson red region. At the instant the 7 people saw this layer of crimson red, their expressions became even more grave, and faint looks of wariness as well as nervousness appeared on their faces. As the waves of the illusory projection continued sweeping through, each layer seemed to magnify the place before eventually revealing a gigantic spot shining with a piercing red light in the depths of the crimson red region. If anyone looked at it for a prolonged period of time, they would find that there were faint shades of black in it as well. The crimson red around the area was created due to the light from the glowing spot filling up the air there. Once the glowing spot appeared, fine white threads also took shape, intersecting one another while covering the entire Crimson Flame Planet. It could be easily seen that the glowing spot was right at the center of the white threads. When the 7 people saw this, they relaxed. There is no damage to the seal. The heinous criminal from the alien race that is detained here is still deep asleep. Each of the cultivation planets in the barren lands of divine essence are suppressing a heinous criminal from an alien race, and it's especially so for the core of the barren lands of divine essence. It's said that there are incredibly terrifying alien races over there. I don't know which cultivator in the Kalpa realm suggested it in the past, but these people should not even continue living. The anomaly of 10,000 years ago in Black Ink Planet is the best example. It's not as if you don't know that these criminals from the alien races are incredibly difficult to kill. But that just makes things bothersome for us of the future generation. Thank goodness we patrol in separate regions, and all is well in ours. As the 7 people spoke to each other, the illusory projection vanished. The blue light over Crimson Flame Planet dispersed, and the ancient bronze sword floating beyond it slowly turned around and gradually disappeared into the distance. The mighty pressure and divine sense over the planet disappeared. Chapter 753. Invasion. Su Ming stood on the magma in the volcano. The mighty presence and the divine sense from the sky that had swept past him just now had made him feel as if his entire body had turned transparent and he could keep no secrets. Everything about him had been revealed to that divine sense. This feeling turned Su Ming's expression dark, and he came to a deeper understanding of what the old voice from Yin Death Vortex had meant when he said that the barren lands of divine essence were a gigantic jail. These true guards are the guards that fend against the barren lands of divine essence. In silence, the gigantic crimson python phoenix that had flown out previously stopped howling and its body fell limp, as if the roars just now had used up all its strength. As a dull and lifeless expression settled on its face, it gradually sank into the magma and falling into deep sleep once again. The bald crane stuck its head out of the magma at that moment. The terror in its eyes showed that fear still lingered within its heart. It flapped its wings and flew out of the magma before sprawling over the stone where it had been previously. Your grandpa crane was just about to suffocate. Damn it all, this place is just too hot. But why do I feel like there should be a place that is even hotter here? The bald crane scratched its bald head, muffled. After a long while, Su Ming closed his eyes and no longer bothered himself with thinking about the true guards. After all, the true guards were incredibly powerful, and they were not people Su Ming could hope to stand up to. The most important thing for him then was to continue training and increase his level of cultivation. Once it reached a certain standard, he could leave this place and search for the king of Yin Death's fragmented worlds as well as the entrance to the fifth true great world, and perhaps, he could even leave this place. The brilliant light that shone in Su Ming's eyes was hidden by his closed lids. He might have lost his ability to love and his sense of pain, but the beautiful moments in his memories still remained, and whenever he remembered them, he would feel numb. This numbness would cause anguish in the depths of his heart. In silence, Su Ming began circulating his cultivation base, repeating the act of absorbing the hot air. It was something he had done without stop for the entire year. As he absorbed the hot air, he would also absorb the power of flesh and blood from the blue stone so that his body would become stronger. Time passed. 1 month, 2 months. In the blink of an eye, another year went by. The 4 seasons did not exist in Crimson Flame Planet. No matter what month it was, heat would always fill the planet. That heat could roast a person's skin and evaporate sweat as well as blood. It could also gradually burn a person's will to ashes. During the past year, Su Ming had gone out once, but he did not move too far away. He could only move about 10,000 feet around the volcano. He could not go past that area because once he was close to that spot, a blue screen of light would immediately appear, blocking his footsteps. Aside from that, once Su Ming left the volcano, he could sense that the spiritual energy in the world was incredibly scarce. He could release his power as he circulated his cultivation base but could not absorb anything. Because of that, it was difficult for him to replenish his cultivation base. There might be quite a large number of crystals in his storage bag, but there would still come a time when he would use them up. That was why Su Ming seldom used them. He did not know how long he would need to stay in the barren lands of divine essence. Perhaps, he would need to stay there for the entirety of his life. Su Ming did not know whether he would act like the others and commit acts of murder as well as carrying corpses around to search for the gods, such as the Crimson Python Phoenix, in order to obtain inferior crystals once all his crystals disappeared. Fortunately, his current body was greatly different from other people's. He could absorb the power of fire within the magma. This flame's power might only have one single attribute, but in this barren Crimson Flame Planet, being able to absorb this crazed power of fire already put him a step above others. Even when 2 years passed, Su Ming's level of cultivation was still at the initial stage of life privation, which was the starting point of Earth cultivation realm. His cultivation level might not have increased even a single bit, but most of his Yin Death aura had already disappeared. Most of the divine abilities he cast now centered around the might of flames. And they also became his strongest divine abilities. As he trained his physical body and devoured the heat, he would obtain quite a large amount of resources, courtesy of the people who were relying on the Crimson Python Phoenix. Due to those extra resources, his physical body's training was going much swifter than it should have. However, as time passed and more people who relied on the Crimson Python Phoenix died, Su Ming's training of his physical body also slowed down. The one time he had exited the volcano was because of this. He had wanted to search for the blue crystals on his own. On that day, when there was about a month left before the time of the offerings, Su Ming lay with his body submerged in magma, exercising his breathing. He had his Atman spread out and cast around the area. This had already become a habit to him. Yet at this time, not long after Su Ming had spread his Atman outwards, his eyes suddenly flew open. At that moment, Yu Hongbang was moving swiftly past the mountain range leading to the volcano with a forlorn and bitter expression on his face, his body covered in blood. Only the thin old man remained from the people who had been with him in the past. There was a wound on the old man's chest that covered most of it. Blood flowed out in rivers, and the old man's face was pale. If he did not have a true breath of life, he would have fallen dead long ago. There were 3 figures giving chase. 2 of them were men, and 1 of them was a woman. All of them were thin, but the light in their eyes was bright with bloodthirstiness as they chased their prey. Among the 3, besides an old man who had reached heaven cultivation realm, the other man and woman, who were in their middle ages, were at earth cultivation realm. The speed at which they gave chase became faster with each passing moment, and evil snickers came from the old man. Yu Hongbang, I've wanted to kill you for a very long time, but as expected of a 3rd-generation descendant of a criminal. The trap I set had only managed to injure the both of you badly. This time, I will definitely kill you. How dare you trespass the area of my cave abode? You're just asking for death. Killing intent and greed shone in the old man's eyes. When he lifted his right hand, a string of incantations tumbled out of his mouth and echoed in the air. As he formed a seal with his left hand, he struck the air, and immediately, a gust of black wind appeared out of nowhere. It turned into a gigantic black-spiked mace that charged towards Yu Hongbang with a loud buzz. I'll kill you and use your corpse of a 3rd-generation descendant of a criminal to exchange for 10 crystals from my god. It'll be enough to cover up all the power I've spent to kill you. The black wind swept up the spiked mace and closed in on Yu Hongbang with a loud whistle. Despair appeared on Yu Hongbang's face, and he coughed up a mouthful of blood as he turned his head back. Once he formed a seal with his hands, the mouthful of blood instantly gathered together before him and turned into a red hammer that swung swiftly towards the incoming spiked mace. As a loud bang reverberated in the air, Yu Hongbang's body trembled, and he coughed up a large mouthful of blood. He tumbled backwards, and all the wounds on his body tore open. The red hammer crumbled to pieces. As for the black wind that had swept up the spiked mace, it froze for a moment, cracking slightly, then charged towards Yu Hongbang once again. When it was close to the fleeing men, the thin old man beside Yu Hongbang let out a loud roar and flew up to appear right before Yu Hongbang so that he could use his body to block the incoming spiked mace. The two crashed into each other, and Yu Hongbang's eyes turned red as tears flowed down them. However, he didn't stop moving for a heartbeat. Instead, he used the time bought by the thin old man blocking the mace to charge towards the mountain range where the volcano was at full speed. HMPH. The old man who was in heaven cultivation realm let out a cold snort. He did not even spare a glance at the person he had killed with his spiked mace. Instead, a freezing glare shone in his eyes, and he cast a glance at the volcano to which Yu Hongbang was charging. The god Crimson Python Phoenix's volcano. Yu Hongbang, are you mad? How could you even dream of asking help from a god? The gods in Crimson Flame Planet have all lost their intelligence. As long as we don't provoke them, they won't attack us. I'll offer your corpse to the god here, and it'll save me the time needed to carry you back. The old man in heaven cultivation realm laughed eerily and brought the man and woman behind him towards Yu Hongbang. The black wind that had swept up the spiked mace became even faster, and it was now less than 100 feet away from Yu Hongbang. At that moment of crisis, Yu Hongbang let out a loud roar. God, please save me. Right at the moment he shouted, the spiked mace closed in. When it crashed into Yu Hongbang, he formed a seal with his right hand, and red light shone around his entire body, helping him resist that blow. But once it did, he coughed up blood, and that blood was already his origin blood and essence. This blow caused his entire body to tremble, and he was now on the verge of dying. His body fell backwards and landed with a bang on the mouth of the volcano. The spiked mace might have disappeared as well, but the 3 people were less than 300 feet away. Despair appeared on Yu Hongbang's face. God, please save me. This person's cave abode is made entirely of blue stones. Please save me." Another madman. "I see. No one can save you today." The old man laughed loudly, but even though he was laughing, his heart let out a thump. He knew that Yu Hongbang was not a fool. Since he had called for help from the god in this place twice, could it be that there was something off about this place? There might have been uncertainty in the old man's heart, but not a single hint of it showed on his face. However, he did slow down slightly and grabbed the man who followed behind him to toss him towards Yu Hongbang. "Kill him, and I will give you a crystal." The moment the man who was thrown by the old man was less than 100 feet away from his target and Yu Hongbang had almost fallen into total despair, a cold harumph suddenly came from depths. At the same time, a red shadow charged out from the mouth of the volcano. The shadow traveled so quickly that he arrived before Yu Hongbang in the blink of an eye. At the instant wild delight appeared on Yu Hongbang's face in the midst of his despair, Su Ming lifted his right hand and threw a fist at the incoming man of Earth Cultivation Realm. Before the punch even landed, it already stirred up a shocking boom. Even space itself seemed to have collapsed, and a wave of intense heat spread out from Su Ming's body. There was even a layer of distortions that contained a law around his fist. The expression of the man who was thrown out changed swiftly. Just as he was about to retreat, the world around his body seemed to have moved in reverse, keeping him frozen in place for a moment. The price for that pause was Su Ming's fist landing straight on the man's chest. There was no bang when that punch landed, only a muffled sound of hitting an empty sack. A shudder wrecked the man's body, and with the spot where Su Ming's fist had landed on his chest as the center, his body was instantly disassembled. In the blink of an eye, half of his body shattered and turned into dust. Su Ming pulled back his right hand, standing before Yu Hongbang. He cast his emotionless eyes at the old man around 200-something feet away, his gaze aloof. A piercingly cold presence spread out from Su Ming's body without his conscious effort. There was no need for him to even think about it. The old man's pupils shrank, and his body came to an abrupt halt. Chapter 754, Breaking the Seal and Getting Out. Senior. Greetings. Thank you for saving me. Excitement appeared on Yu Hongbang's face, and once he struggled up, he immediately wrapped his fist in his palm and bowed deeply towards Su Ming. He had chosen to cry out for God instead of calling out for Su Ming by referring to him as senior in order to make the old man who was pursuing him lower his guard, making him fall into his trap when he scoffed at Yu Hongbang's actions. If he had asked for this senior for help straight away, then the old man who was after his life would have definitely been too terrified to get close to this place. However, it was only natural that the old man had extraordinary wit, since he was able to survive in the barren lands of divine essence. Even if Yu Hongbang's words had indeed affected his guard, he still chose to remain cautious and not get close to the place personally. Once Yu Hongbang saw it, he let out a sigh in his heart. The old man's pupils had shrank, and an incredibly grave expression appeared on his face. Su Ming's level of cultivation might only be of Earth Cultivation Realm in his eyes, but the fact that this person had been training in the volcano was enough to tell him everything he needed to know. It was especially so when he heard the roar from the volcano and the smaller crimson python phoenix extended its body out to glare at him fiercely. The old man's heart then let out a thump once again. He took a few steps back without any hesitation. A smile appeared on his face as he wrapped his fist in his palm towards Su Ming. "I am Qi Bei-shan. It seems like I have interrupted your training, senior. Here is a small gift. It might not be able to show enough respect to you, but I hope that you will forgive me." The people in the barren lands of divine essence had developed incredibly cautious attitudes while living in this harsh environment that was incredibly difficult for anyone to survive in. Unless they absolutely had to or were fully confident in being able to take down their opponent, they would not attack. Even if Su Ming was only at Earth Cultivation Realm in the old man's eyes, he did not believe that a mere cultivator of Earth Cultivation Realm could reduce his follower's body to ashes. Besides, Yu Hongbang's respect and excitement as well as the mysteries surrounding this person along with the fact that quite a number of powerful warriors in the barren lands of divine essence would seal off their power so that they could release it when it was necessary caused the old man to become cautious and choose to avoid conflict. As he smiled, he lifted his right hand and immediately brought out a crystal that was filled with impurities from his storage bag. Once he placed it on the ground, he immediately moved backwards. "Senior, you can't let him leave. Once he leaves, he'll definitely tell the leader of his group about what happened today, which will be detrimental to you. Besides, this person's cave abode is made completely of blue stones. I went there to examine it for you, and that's why I was chased to this place." When Yu Hongbang saw that the old man was about to leave, he immediately spoke to Su Ming anxiously. Killing intent shone in the old man's eyes, and he began charging backwards without any hesitation. The woman beside him also retreated with terror shining on her face, and they turned into long arcs that swiftly left the volcano. Su Ming did not chase after them, but instead allowed the old man to leave swiftly with his follower. When they disappeared into the horizon, Yu Hongbang's face turned incredibly dark, but when he looked at Su Ming, he forced down his complaints and spoke bitterly. "The blue stones you require are becoming scarce in the area around this place. To satisfy your needs, I've brought my companions into places that were further away to scout about. Qi Bei Shan's cave abode is not too far away from this place, and I saw a large amount of blue stones outside it. His cave abode should also be dug out from the blue stone. It's a pity that he has placed a rune outside his cave abode. As he pursued me to this place, all my companions died in his hands. If you hadn't attacked just now, I would have died as well." Yu Hongbang's face was pale. His injuries were grave, and as he spoke, blood even trickled down the corner of his mouth. Su Ming looked at Yu Hongbang coldly. This purple-robed man was now in an incredibly pathetic state. He asked flatly, "Is it really that important for you to become my follower?" Su Ming's words did not match with what Yu Hongbang had been saying, and they came seemingly out of nowhere. However, the moment he said them, Yu Hongbang shuddered lightly. For a moment, he was taken aback, then an expression of wild joy appeared on his face. He bowed deeply towards Su Ming. "I am willing to become your follower and serve you. I will obtain even more blue stones for you, Xianxia. To become my follower, you've been making the people behind you who had seen me previously die one after another. The last person had also died just now for you without having any knowledge of what was going on," Su Ming said, looking straight at Yu Hongbang. Yu Hongbang shuddered once again, then forced out a smile. Just as he was about to speak though, he was interrupted by Su Ming. "The others had sent corpses over the past 2 years, but you've been sending blue stones. This time, when you cried out for help, you brought up that his cave abode was made of the stones that I needed so that you could lure me out to attack and help you kill that old man." With each sentence Su Ming uttered, Yu Hongbang's expression would turn paler. "In fact, you had most probably provoked the old man by walking into his rune voluntarily. Your goal was to lure him out, and this so-called chase was only real by 7/10. The other 3/10 of this was fake and planned." Su Ming's gaze was aloof. His merciless eyes were seen by Yu Hongbang at that moment, and his heart shivered. His face turned even paler, and respect that had never appeared in his heart suddenly took seed within him. Su Ming might not have said all of his plans, but all the things he had said still made his heart go cold. Indeed, he had intentionally made these things happen. Senior Yu Hongbang said with difficulty, but before he could finish speaking, his words were cut off by Su Ming. "Give me all the items you still have to protect your life," Su Ming demanded coldly. Yu Hongbang fell silent. After a moment, he put his right hand deep into his bosom and brought out a black bamboo piece, which he gave to Su Ming respectfully. "Senior, you are wise. I cannot hide all of my schemes from your eyes. This is the item left behind by my ancestor. It is known as Emperor Yin's bamboo, and it can instantly turn into a shield made of 10,000 bamboos. Once a person is sealed inside, even a lord of a world plane would be trapped for a short while." Once Yu Hongbang handed over the black bamboo, he lifted his head and looked at Su Ming with respect on his face. "Qi Bei Shan humiliated me in the past and nearly killed me. I have a personal grudge against him. That's why I lured him to this place. I wanted to borrow your power to kill him. During the past 2 years, I've been discreetly making my comrades die so that no one would notice that something unexpected had happened here. I decided to silence them so that no one would know about your existence. They would only think that you came from the world outside, not a first-generation criminal. I also wanted to make our relationship better with this and become part of your direct descendants in Crimson Flame Planet," Yu Hongbang said in a low voice, then knelt down on one knee. "But I never wanted to harm you. Everything that I did was so that I could obtain your acknowledgement. Please allow me to become your direct descendant, Senior. Yu Hongbang lowered his head. All first-generation criminals that are banished to this place have something about them that causes the four great true worlds to be wary. Your level of cultivation might not seem high, but I believe that your true power is definitely extraordinary. All first-generation criminals become people that all forces of power will want to draw to their side in the barren lands of divine essence, and only first-generation criminals have the right to build their own families here. I'm not a worthless person. I do not want any outsider knowing about your origins before I become your direct descendant. Everything that I've done previously and even the act of luring that person here was mostly to test waters. Please punish me, Yu Hongbang said in a low voice. Su Ming gave Yu Hongbang a cold glance before turning around and ignoring him. Instead, he stepped into the volcano, his body gradually sinking inside. Anguish rose in Yu Hongbang's heart due to Su Ming's actions. He sighed within, but as he was feeling slightly dispirited, Su Ming suddenly asked a question. Is Qi Bei Shan's cave abode truly made of blue stones? I'm not completely certain, but that should really be the case, because there is an incredible amount of this type of blue stone scattered around his cave abode. Yu Hongbang's spirits rose, and he immediately lifted his head to answer the question. Su Ming's expression remained the same. He did not ask any more questions, and his body disappeared into the volcano. Uncertainty appeared in Yu Hongbang's heart. He could not guess Su Ming's thoughts. At that moment, he chose to sit down cross-legged on the mouth of the volcano and brought out several crystals filled with impurities to exercise his breathing quietly so his wounds would heal. His mind worked rapidly, but he still could not obtain even a single hint from Su Ming's words as to what he was planning to do. Su Ming lowered himself into the magma as a pensive look appeared in his eyes. His body soon completely sank into the magma, and as the magma churned violently, the gigantic crimson python phoenix let out a roar and flew out. Su Ming was sitting cross-legged on top of its head. He had his right hand placed on the crimson python phoenix's body and his Atman spread out to fuse with the ferocious beast's body. The gigantic crimson python phoenix rushed upwards with a roar, and when it rose from the volcano, the mighty pressure that belonged to a world paragon caused excitement to instantly appear on Yu Hongbang's face. The bald crane turned into a ray of yellow light and appeared beside Su Ming, carefully landing on the crimson python phoenix's body. Its current appearance was that of a mutt, and it had its tongue sticking out of its mouth as it looked at the area. Lead the way, Su Ming said coldly. Yu Hongbang immediately flew up and wrapped his fist in his palm before bowing towards Su Ming. Then, as he turned around, killing intent shone in his eyes, and he charged into the distance. Su Ming patted the crimson python phoenix beneath him. The gigantic ferocious beast hesitated for a moment, then swiftly rushed out. Though before it could fly more than 10,000 feet outwards, a layer of blue light rose from the ground and covered the entire area. The crimson python phoenix froze in terror and wariness appeared on its face. Bald crane. Su Ming was not surprised by this. Instead, he cast a glance at the bald crane. The mutt went off with spirit. When it flew out, it turned into its original form and crashed into a blue screen of light that formed the seal in this place. After a moment, its body started warping and turned into an old man dressed in a robe with 9 black dragons sewn on it. He closed his eyes and let out a low shout at the rune. Open! With that one word, the blue screen of light immediately started trembling, and a crack appeared. Crimson Python Phoenix's eyes went wide, and it let out an ecstatic screech before turning into a red light that shot through the crack. The slightly smaller Crimson Python Phoenix did not come out. It was instead looking at Su Ming from the volcano while letting screeching loudly. The bald crane strutted about for a bit, then moved to stand on the gigantic Crimson Python Phoenix's body. It was no longer as cautious as it was last time, and it was a clear sign that it thought it had done a meritorious deed. At the same time the Crimson Python Phoenix flew out of the blue screen of light, it let out a roar that shook most of Crimson Flame Planet. Its huge body, which was several tens of thousands of feet big, caused the weather to change. In its memories, this was the first time it flew out of that area of 10,000 feet around the volcano. As it roared, Su Ming sat cross-legged on its head. An expression of excitement that had never appeared on Yu Hongbang's face before did so now, as he flew at the front. He knew that he had won the gamble. Lead the way. Understood. Chapter 755, Duke of Crimson Flame. Su Ming sat on the Crimson Python Phoenix's body without a shred of emotion on his face. A harsh and ruthless air surrounded him, fusing with that aloof gaze of his. He gave off a feeling as if there was ice and snow around him. However, the heat spreading from the Crimson Python Phoenix's body blended perfectly with that cold and turned into a strange illusion that distorted people's vision, adding a layer of mystery to Su Ming. Yu Hongbang charged forward. It was difficult for him to conceal the excitement in his heart, and he could not help himself but have some of it show up on his face. He traveled at an incredibly quick pace and turned into a long arc as he charged towards his enemy's dwelling place, Qi Bei Shan's cave abode. The Crimson Python Phoenix let out delighted cries as it charged forward behind him. Its cry contained its desire for freedom and the outburst of joy after being let out after suffering through years of oppression. Ever since it had gained consciousness, it had been sealed in that volcano, unable to fly more than 10,000 feet away. That seal was like a cage that lasted for generations. If Su Ming had not come, it would have been eternally sealed in that place, unable to move a single step outside. Su Ming's arrival had changed everything, breaking the life the Crimson Flame Python had expected to continue living. But perhaps it would be more accurate to say that the bald crane had achieved that. It had done a great meritorious deed in this matter. As the Crimson Python Phoenix roared, ripples reverberated through the entire Crimson Flame planet. Its roars shook the sky and earth, resounding in all directions, and immediately attracted the attention of all the ferocious beasts that were known as gods by the residents of this planet and who were sealed in their regions in Crimson Flame Planet, unable to get OU. They were momentarily stunned, then roared back in response. Roars from all regions of Crimson Flame Planet rang through the land for a time being. They echoed in all corners of the planet, and these happenings immediately caused the cultivators in Crimson Flame Planet to spot changes in their expressions. In the midst of their shock, they found themselves unable to guess just what sort of thing might have occurred. If it was not because there was no pressure or divine sense descending from the sky, then this sort of continuous roars coming from all directions would have made these people think that the true gods had arrived. Some of the people who had wanted to make offerings to the gods in their regions were filled with shock during that instant, because their gods were no longer looking at their offerings, but had flown towards the seals and roaring loudly towards the sky in the north. There was clear envy and madness contained within those roars. The beasts were akin to a group of people who had been locked in cages suddenly but now saw one of their companions walking out of their cage one day, and they were not even doing it quietly. That person who had escaped was even letting crazed bellows of laughter. Because of that, the madness that was stirred up shook the entire Crimson Flame Planet. Compared to the puzzlement that was contained within the shock of all the cultivators in other regions, the cultivators who were in the northern region had their heads lifted in disbelief as their hearts trembled violently in the midst of shock while they looked at the gigantic body that was charging through the sky. It was the Crimson Python Phoenix that possessed a phoenix head and was several tens of thousands of feet long. As it flew in the sky while roaring, the tremors that it caused looked as if they could turn the world upside down. The creature certainly did turn upside down the emotions of people who saw it. Is that the Crimson Python Phoenix god from the volcano? Is this an illusion? This is impossible. As far as the recorded history of Crimson Flame Planet goes, no ferocious beast from the alien races had been able to move past the area of 10,000 feet from their caves. The four true great worlds have placed seals outside the gods' caves, and it is impossible for them to be opened. How did it manage to come out? There's a person sitting on its head. Heavens, who is that? There's someone sitting on the Crimson Python Phoenix's head. The uproars from the cultivators on the ground in the north reached their most intense state when the people saw Su Ming's figure sitting on the Crimson Python Phoenix. Their cries buzzed in the air, filled with disbelief, rapid breathing, as well as reverential gazes mixed with shock. The Crimson Python Phoenix lifted its head and roared at the sky, then flew even faster. The bald crane on its back was feeling proud of itself and continued posing in different manners. It felt that most of the cries from the crowd were due to its work. Su Ming had an apathetic expression on his face. He closed his eyes. Even though he had covered the aloof gaze in his eyes, it was still difficult to chase away even a single bit of that cold chill spreading out from his body. Yu Hong Bang almost roared along with the phoenix as he led the way. He was so excited that his face had gained a red flush, and his heart was trembling with so much excitement that he wanted to already be by Qi Bei Shan's cave abode. The thing that excited him the most, though, was that as the crimson python phoenix charged through the air, many cultivators in this region either flew into the sky behind them or ran on the ground after the phoenix. Clearly, they wanted to see where this ferocious beast was headed. Originally, all the cultivators were supposed to force down this sort of curiosity, but at that moment, no one tried quelling it. Even if they had to waste some crystals, they still chose to follow without hesitation, because in their hearts, this sort of thing that overturned what they knew was incredibly rare, and it might not repeat itself even after several tens of thousands of years had passed. Clearly, the appearance of this sort of thing would bring about a gigantic effect that would turn the world upside down. If they missed it, they would definitely regret it for the rest of their lives. At that moment, in a stone house located at the peak of the tallest mountain in the east of Crimson Flame Mountain was the old woman, and she was sitting cross-legged while meditating. Her eyes flew open at that instant, and a powerful light shone in her eyes. Without any hesitation, she flashed into the sky and looked towards the north. When her gaze landed there, her expression changed quickly. For a time, she looked stupefied, then shocked, then her expression turned as dark as thunderclouds. She even lifted her right hand and formed a seal swiftly. But after a moment, she sucked in a deep breath, and her body trembled. Someone broke the seal and let out the crimson python phoenix. Who is he? How did he break open the seal? This has never happened before since the seals were placed in Crimson Flame Planet, only. The old woman's pupils shrank, as if she had thought of something. With one swift move, she turned into a long arc and charged through the sky, straight towards the northern region. In the only forest that existed in the west of Crimson Flame Planet was a big tree that was trembling viciously at that moment. An old face emerged from the tree trunk, and roars tumbled out from within the trunk. As it trembled, the entire forest started shivering with it. There was a middle-aged man standing beside the tree trunk. He was looking at the sky to the north with a dazed expression. After a long while, he sucked in a sharp breath. It's said that something like this happened when Black Ink Planet changed all those years ago. Could it be that the second transformation in the barren lands of Divine Essence is happening in Crimson Flame Planet? Could it be that, this time, Crimson Flame Planet is about to change? The middle-aged man's expression changed rapidly, and after a moment, he leaped into the sky and charged towards the north. There's still 9 years left till the next time the True Guards patrol this place. Who has caused this change in Crimson Flame Planet? Due to the Crimson Python Phoenix's escape from the seal and its subsequent roars, as well as the other ferocious beasts responding to its cries by roaring at the same time, all the cultivators in Crimson Flame Planet did not notice in their shock and amazement that a faint ripple had spread towards the land from the rune when the bald crane had used its strange art and cried out for the seal to open. Not even Su Ming had noticed it. A chain reaction followed. Once the ripple traveled into the ground, one of the endless white threads in the inner part of the cultivation planet, which was at the depths of Crimson Flame Planet, snapped with a bang. The breaking of one single thread might not affect the entire seal, but it still created a tiny gap in the perfect rune. Within the core of Crimson Flame Planet, which was the true inner part of the planet itself, was an endless and infinite amount of magma. The color of that magma was not red, but purplish-black. Immersed at the center of this purplish-black magma was a skeleton. There was not a hint of flesh or blood on that skeleton. The magma quietly covered half of its body, while a black sword was pierced deep into the top of its skull. There were 3 other swords that had pierced other parts of its body as well. However, at the moment the bald crane had shouted out that one word in the world outside, the ripple that came from the seal had went deep into the ground, causing the one white thread among the countless others to snap. During that instant, a wisp of dark light appeared in the skeleton's eyes. This was the first time. This had happened ever since he had been sealed in this place. At the instant that dark light appeared in his eyes, the proud bald crane behind Su Ming suddenly found the smile freezing on its face as it traveled on the Crimson Python Phoenix's back. The bald crane lowered its head swiftly and looked at the ground. Duke of Crimson Flame. Who's this bastard, Duke of Crimson Flame? The bald crane was momentarily stunned, then scratched its bald head. It was puzzled greatly by the words it had said just now. A moment before, It had felt as if it had remembered something. Yet no matter how hard it thought about it, it could not obtain an answer, which was why the bald crane decided to not think about that matter. Instead, it became proud of itself again. Su Ming opened his eyes slowly. As the crimson python phoenix charged through the land, there were nearly 100-something cultivators that had turned into long arcs and were following it. There were hundreds of others that were running on the ground as well. Yu Hongbang's body froze for a moment, then he turned his head around to look at Su Ming with a zealous gaze as he pointed at the ground not too far in the distance. Senior, that is Qi Bei Shan's cave abode. There was a small hill on the ground with quite a large number of blue stones scattered at the foot of the hill. These stones were completely useless to the cultivators in this place, for there was not a single hint of spiritual energy contained within, which was why very few people paid attention to them. There was a platform that jutted out of the middle section of the hill. At that moment, Qi Bei Shan and the woman beside him had just returned and were standing on the platform while looking at the sky with dumbfounded gazes. Behind them was a door to a cave abode that had been thrown wide open, and blue rays of light could be seen spreading out from within. That small hill was made entirely of blue stones. Qi Bei Shan shuddered, his expression filled with shock and terror. He had returned not too long ago. Noticing the strange phenomenon in the world outside, he had just walked out to investigate this matter when, before long, his pupils shrank, and even his breathing stilled.